Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be exploring a pretty big question in Christianity.
Yeah,
What is the greatest commandment? And we'll be diving deep into the Bible, to really uncover its meaning and its significance.
right.
Before we get started, though, if you're enjoying this discussion so far, hit that subscribe button
Yes,
and give this video a thumbs up. It really does help us share these kinds of deep dives with a wider audience.
for sure.
So this question, it seems simple on the surface, but
It is a question that cuts right to the heart of Christian faith and has been debated for centuries.
yeah, we're going right to the source for this one. We're
Absolutely.
going to the Gospels to see how this question was addressed by Jesus himself.
Right.
A Pharisee, wanting to test him, asks, "What is the greatest commandment?"
Mm-hmm.
And it really sets the stage for like a pivotal moment.
Yeah, it does. And the answer Jesus provides is both profound and surprisingly straightforward.
Oh, okay.
He states that the greatest commandment is twofold. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind.
Okay.
And love your neighbor as yourself.
Okay, so like a two-parter.
Yes.
So it's not an either-or situation. It's two sides of the same coin.
Exactly. It's this incredible concept where loving God and loving others are inseparable. They are intrinsically linked, each one enriching and deepening the other.
Okay, let's break this down a little bit.
Yeah, let's.
Started with loving God. What does that look like in practice?
Right.
Is it just about feeling good when you think about God?
Well, it's definitely more than just a warm, fuzzy feeling.
Okay.
Loving God is about deliberately choosing to prioritize your relationship with Him.
Hmm?
It's about actively seeking Him out, pursuing a deeper connection through prayer, worship, and studying Scripture.
So you're really highlighting the importance of action here. It's not just a passive sentiment,
Right.
but like an active pursuit.
Precisely.
Okay.
Think of the Book of Psalms, King David's raw, emotional outpouring to God.
Right.
Those words are powerful expressions of love for God, demonstrating a level of intimacy and vulnerability that goes beyond simply following a set of rules.
Yeah.
What are some ways that resonate with you when it comes to showing love for God? Share your thoughts in the comments. I would love to hear your perspectives.
I love that. I'm reminded of that line, delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart.
Yeah.
It's like saying when you genuinely love God, everything else falls into place.
And that delight, that joy we find in our relationship with God naturally spills over into how we treat others.
So that leads us perfectly into the second part of this commandment, loving your neighbor. But before we get into that, we want to make sure this deep dive reaches as many people as possible.
Absolutely.
If you are enjoying this explanation, please hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up.
Yes.
It really helps us spread these profound teachings. Now, how does loving your neighbor manifest in everyday life?
Well, this is where the rubber meets the road, whereas love kind of transcends the theoretical and becomes tangible.
Okay.
Loving your neighbor is about translating faith into action.
So it's about more than just good intentions.
Absolutely. It's about embodying that love in how we interact with others, showing kindness, compassion, and respect, regardless of, their background, their beliefs, or even how they treat us.
It makes me think of the parable of the Good Samaritan. Such a powerful example of loving your neighbor in action, defying those social norms and expectations.
It's a story that challenges us to really expand our definition of neighbor. The Samaritan, considered an outsider by the society of that time, goes above and beyond to help a wounded traveler.
Right.
Someone from a different background, different religion, who others had just passed by.
It highlights that radical inclusivity at the heart of this commandment. It makes you ask, who are the neighbors in our own lives? And how are we extending love to them? We would love to hear your thoughts on this. Share your own examples of neighborly love in the comments.
What's so fascinating is how Jesus, through this parable, reframes the question. It goes from, who is my neighbor, to whom am I a neighbor?
Oh, wow.
It's a call to action, a challenge to see the divine spark in everyone we encounter and respond with love.
It's a beautiful concept, but how do we put this into practice consistently? Life can be messy. People can be difficult. How do we navigate those complexities while staying true to this commandment?
Well, that's where the wisdom, found in the Bible comes in.
Okay.
It doesn't just give us this commandment, it offers practical guidance on how to live it out.
Right.
And, it's often in those seemingly small, everyday acts of kindness that we truly embody love.
Can you give us some examples of those small acts with a big impact?
Think about the power of simply listening to someone.
Yeah.
Someone who's going through a tough time. Offering a listening ear without judgment can be an incredible act of love. It's about being present, showing empathy, and just letting that person know they are not alone.
Sometimes just feeling heard and understood can be incredibly healing. It's like offering a safe space for someone to share their burdens.
Exactly. And it doesn't require, grand gestures or pronouncements. It's about those simple human interactions where we just extend grace and compassion. What are some other small but impactful ways you've seen love demonstrated? Let's get a conversation going in the comments. I'm sure we can all learn from each other's experiences.
For sure. Another example that comes to mind is forgiveness. It can be one of the toughest things to do, especially when we've been hurt deeply.
Forgiveness is absolutely essential, not just for the other person, but for our own spiritual well-being.
Okay.
It's about releasing the anger, resentment, and bitterness that can poison our hearts.
Is it really possible to just let go of those feelings, though? What does true forgiveness actually look like?
It's a process. It's not a switch we can just flip on and off.
Right.
It often involves, acknowledging the pain, allowing ourselves to grieve the hurt, and choosing to release the other person from our judgment.
Hmm.
It's recognizing that we all make mistakes. Holding on to anger only hurts us in the end.
So it's about choosing love over resentment, even when it's really hard.
Precisely. And it's not about condoning the wrong that was done, but about freeing ourselves from the burden of carrying that pain. It's a powerful step towards healing and reconciliation.
Yeah. And speaking of powerful actions, what about encouragement?
Right.
A simple word of affirmation, a genuine compliment, or a heartfelt "you got this" can really make someone's day.
The power of words should never be underestimated. They can build people up or tear them down.
Yeah.
When we choose to encourage others to speak life into their situations, we are choosing to love them in a tangible way.
It's like planting those seeds of hope and positivity, reminding people of their worth and potential. And it's amazing how these seemingly small acts connect back to the grand idea of this greatest commandment.
It's a beautiful reminder that living out this commandment is not about grand gestures or sweeping pronouncements.
Yeah.
It's woven into the fabric of our daily interactions.
Right.
The choices we make in each moment to extend grace, compassion, and love to those around us.
This has been such an eye-opening discussion, but before we wrap things up, we want to remind you to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps us spread this message of love and reach an even wider audience. Now, in our final segment, we'll explore the ripple effect of love and how it can transform not just individuals, but entire community and even the world around us. So we've explored, the meaning of loving God and loving our neighbor, both in theory and in practice, but I want to kind of zoom out a little bit here
Yeah.
and think about the bigger picture. What's the overall impact? Like, if we make the choice to use love as our guiding principle, what happens?
That's where things get truly inspiring, because when we embrace this commandment, we're not just changing our own lives.
Right?
We're contributing to this ripple effect that can transform the world around us.
Okay, so how do, individual acts of love translate to that kind of large-scale change?
Remember what we discussed about the connection between loving God and loving others? It's like a cycle. The more we cultivate love for God,
Yeah.
the more it overflows into how we treat those around us. And that outward expression of love has incredible power.
So it's like planting seeds of kindness, compassion, generosity, and then those can grow and spread beyond ourselves.
Exactly. Think about historical movements like the Civil Rights Movement or the fight for LGBTQ plus equality. These were movements fueled by love. Love for justice, love for equality, love for humanity. They challenged deeply ingrained systems of oppression and sparked lasting change.
Yeah, those are powerful examples of how love can be a driving force for, societal transformation.
Right.
But what about on a more individual level? Like, what kind of impact can those everyday acts of love have?
Even the smallest acts of kindness can have a ripple effect. Think about, the volunteer who dedicates their time to a local soup kitchen, the neighbor who checks in on an elderly resident living alone, or the stranger who offers a helping hand to someone in need. These may seem like small gestures, but they can make a world of difference in someone's life.
Right? It's like that chain reaction of compassion, where one act of love just inspires another, and collectively, they can create a more loving and supportive community. I feel like we probably underestimate the power of those, seemingly insignificant acts of kindness.
Absolutely. It's easy to get caught up in the grand gestures and sweeping pronouncements, but often it's the quiet, unassuming acts of love that have the most profound impact. Those are the moments where we truly embody the spirit of this greatest commandment. What stands out to you as the most inspiring example of love in action? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's keep this conversation going.
I love that. It's like that quote from Mother Teresa. Not all of us can do great things, but we can do small things with great love. That really resonates with me.
And when those small acts of love are multiplied by millions of people around the world, it creates a shift in consciousness, a movement towards a more compassionate and interconnected society.
It makes me feel hopeful that even in a world that often feels so divided and cynical, we can be a force for good,
Right.
one act of love at a time.
That's the incredible thing about this commandment. It's not just a lofty ideal or a feel-good message. It's a call to action.
Right.
It's a challenge to live our lives in a way that reflects love in all that we do, both big and small.
So what's like the takeaway message for our listeners today? What's the one thing we hope they remember from this deep dive?
The takeaway is simple yet profound. Love matters. It has the power to transform not just our own lives, but the lives of those around us and ultimately the world we live in. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it.
Beautifully said. And before we wrap up, we want to encourage everyone watching to subscribe to our channel and give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps us reach more people with this message of love and continue these deep dives into important topics.
Now, I want to leave you with this thought-provoking question. What's one concrete way you can show love today? You could be something small, like offering a genuine compliment to a coworker, or something bigger, like volunteering your time to a cause you care about. Whatever it is, I encourage you to take action and let love be your guiding force.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the greatest commandment. We hope you've been inspired to embrace love as a guiding principle in your own life. And remember, love is not just a feeling, it's an action. It's something we choose to embody every single day. Until next time, keep spreading the love.